Welcome to the Make and Design Podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner. On this podcast, we're unraveling the everyday joys and dilemmas of design, making, and business. For makers who want to be designers and for designers who are makers, this is your inside scoop to help you grow your business and bring more creativity to your life.
I love today's topic because I love talking about trends, you guys. If any of you have taken my time management for creative course with Megan, I actually talk about trends in there and how I keep a central hub with trends. And I think trends are very fascinating, you guys. They really are. And I remember when I went to school back then, they would talk about kind of how those trends would evolve and sort of where you first saw it and then kind of how it trickled out. And I don't know if it's exactly the same as it was back then, just because the internet has made everything so much faster. I feel like a trend gets out there or something gets out there, and then it's the first person who does it, the second person who does it, and then it just becomes like this huge thing and everybody is doing it. You guys know what I'm talking about, like the rainbows, the unicorns, the cactus, like the llamas. There are certain trends that kind of happen at certain given points that aren't just graphic design, right? Like the trend of wearing the long necklace, right? Or the chunky necklace versus the thin necklace, or the earbud, like the little studs. Like all of these things, they are things that are happening in our marketplace in real time, and we're seeing them happen, right? And they're getting super exciting, and you can kind of trace and see what people are doing. And so often the question that actually comes to me very often is like, Carina, how do you predict or how do you figure out what is trending? And the bottom line is, you guys are gonna hate and love this answer. You can't. I know that there are vision boards out there and people trying to do predictions, and some of it is great. It's analytics, right? Like kind of figuring out what's going well and kind of predicting for future. But when it comes to fabric design, when it comes to surface design, you can't predict. It's just so difficult. If you start making cactus print today, and cacti are on trend right now, you're a year out from that line being printed. And so you are a year behind the trend, okay? So if you want to be someone who's a trend setter, not someone who is just playing off the trends, you've got to think differently. And this is something we talk about in Design Suite all the time. If you're someone who wants to know about that program, you have to come into a design boot camp. That's the only time I open it up. But this is where the inside knowledge, kind of all of that happens, where we're talking about what are we seeing happening in the marketplace right now? What's hot right now? What's going on right now? What shops are doing well? What shops are making 5 figures a month? These are all things you guys can't get outside of a program, whether it's a university program, it's a business program, or it's a mastermind program. These are places where you're getting that kind of information. So I really love it because we're talking about current trends, and then we're talking about how to become the trend setter, okay? Because a year from now, I don't know what's going to be trending, right? So I've got to make it up. I've got to decide what is my fabric line, right? The fabric line I'm designing actually in real time right now doesn't come out until 2023. I have a fabric line that's coming out in November of 2022 called Ciao Bella. And that line I designed last year, over a year and a half ago, right? Not a year and a half ago, but almost. That's when I started it. And so I had no idea what was going to be trending. I put together colors I thought were modern and applicable, that I thought would be beautiful. I really was going off of my own design gut instincts. And here's the crazy thing, you guys. The number of times where I've created a fabric line where I'm a year in advance, and then it comes out and it is the trend. It is the thing. You see lots of things coming out in those colorways. You see lots of things coming out with those types of flowers or those kinds of images or prints. That's how you know you are a trendsetter, not someone who is behind. And a lot of it has to do with just being a good designer. You guys know I'm talking all the time about skill level. Like skill level is one level. Good design level is the next level up. So you can learn the software, and then there's good design. And that good design level, we're always trying to get better. In fact, I did an episode not that far back, if you want to go listen to it, about the levels of design, where you go through each level and you're trying to become better and better and better and better. And usually your salary, the amount of money you make, very much correlates with that, you guys. It really does. It correlates with that. So I put those numbers into that PDF. And in fact, if you want that PDF, if you go over to my Instagram feed at Carina Gardner and you put in, just put into the chat, like whatever the most recent post is, and you just put in the comments, podcast, let's see, level, that's what we'll do, podcast level, I will send you that PDF. So I'll just DM it over to you so that you can see what those design levels are, okay? So you can also just go back and listen to that episode. Let me just see if I can find it for you guys. It is episode number 133. Go listen to episode 133, and I talk about the levels of design, okay? So be a trendsetter, you guys, and that means become a really good designer and start thinking into the future, like what can I do to make this more modern or more traditional or more era, like whatever era or period that you're interested in designing for. That is what's going to get you ahead, okay? That's what's going to, not by using the Pantone color of the year this year, but by getting ahead of that and deciding that you, as the designer, you're in charge of setting the trends. Those people who are down at the skill level, that beginning level, or even in the second level, the learning level, what's happening there is they're just modeling. So they're always behind. They're always behind. Once you get up to an experience level, you start getting a little bit more ahead. And really, it's when you're at expert level, that's when you kind of start pushing forward, creating trends yourself, and going after things, okay? So fun, you guys. This is like the stuff that gets me, like, just lights me up and gets me super excited because it is so fun. I remember, and I don't know if I've told this story on this podcast before, you guys. I never know what stories I've already told, but I remember when I became the creative director at Carta Bella, I think year 2 in, we came out with, I had done several lines, and one of them was a travel line. And travel is always popular in the January CHA, like bringing it out. But in this particular moment, like everyone had done a travel line, and there was lots of like world maps being used and colorful and all these other things. And I remember someone coming up and saying, this travel line that you guys, I've walked the entire floor. This is by far like the best travel line, and it is the culmination of all the other travel lines out there. Like this one hits all of the points. What had I done in that line? Well, I had used a lot of vintage. It was like a vintage travel line. It was actually a muted color palette. I only used browns, variations of browns, red and black. So it was a very muted line. So it could be used for a lot of things. Used a ton of vintage type materials. And it really was, well, it was a line we printed 3 times, which, you guys, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But we printed it so often because it sold out so quickly. Because it was right on trend with what everybody wanted, customers wanted at that time. We didn't go super colorful. We didn't go, like, it was very, very muted, and just, it kind of embodied what travel looked like at that time and the way people wanted to scrapbook with it. Now, did I know that was going to be the trend? No, I had no idea. I just knew that I needed to up-level the design work I had done from the previous year. I had done another travel line. And I was like, what can I do that is really different? And you guys, especially in Design Suite, you guys hear me talking about all the time, how do I make this different? You've got to be thinking differently in order to be the trendsetter. That, like, you can't be in line with everybody else all the time, you guys. If you're in line with everybody else, you're getting the same soup as everybody else, right? If you're not deviating off that path at all and kind of seeing, what's at the bakery next door, you're going to have no idea what could be. What could be, you guys. And that's the exciting part about being a designer, is that you get to be part of what could be. Are there misses? Yes. Sometimes I totally miss the mark, right? I've gone to the wrong bakery on the wrong side of the tracks, okay? Sometimes, and a lot of times, it's like you've gotten the best thing ever, because you were just right in front of the trend. You were just right in front and seeing what could be possible. And I really want that for you. I want you to find that. Okay, if you want that 5 levels PDF, make sure and put in podcast level over at my Instagram feed at Carina Gardner. If you are interested in a design boot camp, which I believe we are still in one right now, so you may have missed this one, but you want to maybe even come to the replay on Instagram, or if you want to come to our June one, all you have to do is go to carinagardnercourses.com/design bootcamp. I can't wait to see you there. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.